If there is one word that I would use to describe Amber, it would be genuine. And I know you will see this throughout this conversation. I needed to re listen to this episode just to reinvigorate some of my dreams and some of my writing aspirations as well. You'll notice when people share their stories of doing something different, it could be a huge difference, or it could be just a small adjustment in life because something is stirring within us. Amber's story is simple yet profound. And what you will see in almost all these stories, including Amber's, is that no one has these huge resources that came available to make a career adjustment or a life adjustment. It really isn't what we are lacking that keeps us from doing what we are called to do. It is the courage within us that I believe story helps bring out. I hope you enjoy this episode. Welcome to Pursuing Joy, where we discuss audacious stories of joy-infused strength. I have a special guest, Amber Derr, and if anyone recalls, I was interviewing Forrest, her husband, not too long ago, and I had the pleasure of meeting Forrest and Amber in Southern Alabama last month, and realized that Amber has quite the story to tell. So, welcome, Amber. Can you explain a little bit of what you are currently doing?
Of course. Thanks for having me on, Julie. I'm really excited about being here. And as you mentioned, we're in South Alabama, so that explains a little bit of the accent that you'll get today. And currently, what I am doing right now is I am an editor, a copy editor, and a proofreader. And I just enjoy working with words. That lights me up in the morning. It makes me happy. And I just love working with the different authors that I get to work with, whether they are writing a full-length book or even if they're just writing blogs. That's an author. And so I get to work with them and get to encourage their journey, but also I get to help clarify their message without changing the tone or the way that they wanted their words to go.
Awesome. Yeah. That's probably why I felt like we hit it off because words are very meaningful to me. I was kind of going all over the place with the word resilient this morning and trying to decide is that a positive connotation or a negative connotation? How do I really feel about this? I think I feel good after I realize I'm resilient, but don't feel good in the becoming resilient. It just was all over the place with that word. And I don't know if you have this experience, but when a word hits me and I can like feel it in my body, then I
Yes,
feel like I need to go on a little journey. With
absolutely.
it. I
Yes.
love researching the origins of words and the history of words, and
Mhm.
I can nerd out on that. But I've
Yeah.
also realized, and we talked about this, as much as I love words, as much as I love writing, I cannot edit my stuff at all. I miss everything. The simplest of
Mhm.
things I
Yeah.
will miss. And you explained to me a little bit of a reason why that is. Can you tell me why that is?
Well, this is what I think it is. I'm sure there's some science behind it, but when we write things and then we go back and reread it, our brain sees what we meant to put there because that's what you were thinking at the time, but maybe your hands are not moving as fast as your brain did. And so what happens is your brain automatically puts in let's say you left a word out. Your brain automatically puts that in there because it knows that's what it was thinking at the time that you were writing the content that you were working on. Now, that's where a second pair of eyes comes in handy because we're the editor, the proofreader, they are seeing that content for the very first time. And so it makes sense to that person, not the writer, that okay, hey, a word is missing here. This word might be spelled wrong, or this is the wrong word in this spot. So it helps. It's just a backup plan, for lack of a better term, that it helps the writer come across more clearly.
All right. Yes, I think I would definitely agree with that. I leave words out all the time, and I would swear to you that they're there. So that makes sense. In your opinion, based on AI and the way everyone is currently using it, why the human touch? Why do you think the human touch matters in the editing and proofreading process?
Okay, so yes, AI is very prevalent right now, and it seems that it might be taking the place of human editors, proofreaders, all along that journey. Where I feel like a human is still needed is AI is not quite there yet. There is still maybe a robotic sounding element to AI. Whenever you read something that AI has totally written, it it just sounds off to the human ear.
Mhm.
And a human editor or a human proofreader is still going to be able to help you find those little nuances and be able to help you tweak those to get it back sounding like yourself. Hey, I want this to sound like Julie. I need it to sound like
Mhm.
Julie. And so you're going to want an editor, a proofreader, someone who knows you as a person, as a writer, and knows how you sound whenever you're conversing, that it sounds like that on paper as well.
Yes, I would agree with that. I am constantly telling ChatGPT, I need this to sound like me. I need this to sound like me.
Uh-huh.
And it really never quite gets it. Now it does
Okay.
sound nice. It's fluffy and sounds very educated and
Mhm.
intellectual. But there's definitely an emotional element that is
Mhm.
missed from there. How do you get to know your writers in that sense to keep their voice?
Okay, so I love the one-on-one that I get to have with my writers to a lot of times there are just a few questions that I can ask. If I say to a writer, "What is your book about? What is your content about?" Well, automatically, I have established a relationship with that person because they have spent their time and their energy and they have poured themselves into this
Uh-huh.
piece of content. And when you ask someone, "What tell me about this important project that you've been working on," they are going to light up and they will just talk about this piece that they've put together, which is fantastic. But just listening, a lot of being a good editor is being a good listener.
Okay.
Uh, and it's just listening to the author and picking up how they phrase things and how they put things together, how their thought process works. It's all gonna show up in their content.
Uh-huh.
And knowing that helps me to continue the process of my biggest goal whenever I edit something is to make sure that it's clear, but Secondly, but only just a little bit secondly, is to make sure that we do not lose that person's voice. That's their piece.
Mhm.
They want to know that it is being handled in a secure and trustworthy way. And that's what I try to convey to my clients.
So you just touched on something that it's kind of a lot of what this podcast is about is joy, because when you hit that nerve or sweet spot with an author, right, of
Mhm.
them talking about their project, there's
Mhm.
a vocalization that happens, there's body language that happens, there's all these things that lead you to know that they have found joy in this project, and this is ultimately what they find joy in, which is exactly what I look for in the interview process as well.
Right.
When I'm trying to hire, I look for that uptick of or the elevation in the voice or the body movements and different things that tell me that they are in their joy.
Mhm.
Let's go back in time a little bit when you thought you were going to find joy in a certain career, and how that transpired, and what got you to where you are today.
Okay. So, back in the mid 90s is about when I entered college, and my dream was to be a high school English teacher. I thought that was going to be the pinnacle of my career. I thought I'm going to help students enjoy and appreciate reading. I'm going to help them be able to express their thoughts clearly and correctly. And I'm going to have for lack of a better term, it would be my ministry for me to be a part of these students' lives. Okay.
High
And that
hopes.
was what?
I said high hopes.
Yeah, high, very high hopes. Oh my goodness, yes. And so, um, graduated college, got my first teaching job, and um, boy, did I get a reality check. It was. I loved the kids. I loved them, and I wanted to be able to teach them and love them at the same time, but I I think I got too emotionally involved. And the
Hmm.
reason I say that is because I wasn't able to completely focus on teaching because I was worried about who was hungry, who didn't get a good night's sleep last night because it wasn't safe at their house,
Hmm.
who, you know, who didn't get their homework done for whatever reason, who came to school, who didn't come to school today,
Oh,
who's not
right.
here and why. Why aren't they here? Is there something wrong? Okay, so I had a I had trouble separating the two worlds. And I would go home every day and cry. I would cry for the ones who I didn't know what was going on. I would cry for me because I was hurting for them. I didn't
Hmm.
know how to handle this. And so I taught for 2 years, and then I got to a point where I was just like, I can't do this anymore. I was working with teachers. They were very good at being able to separate the two.
Right.
And that was great. And I thought, I am such a failure because I didn't succeed at this. There's never been anything that I didn't succeed at. I, I've always done the things
Mhm.
that I needed to do and been able to get from point A to point B, which goes into my tenacity part of my working genius. I get things done. And for me to not succeed, or what I saw as not succeeding at teaching, I felt like such a failure, and I didn't know how to handle that. And so, just I put that on the back burner, and I thought, I'm gonna put one foot in front of the other. We're gonna move on. I don't know what to do next, but I know what I can't do
Mhm.
more. And for a long time in high school, in college, I was always the person who people would say, "Hey, I'm about to turn this in. Will you look over it for me before I do that?" There's usually somebody like that in every person's life. You can, if you think about it, you can name them just like
Yeah.
this. And so that led to, we had a few friends who were still in college at the time, and they would ask me to do that because I had the English background from my college years. And my husband he was like, Amber, you just light up whenever you're doing this. He said, you are happiest when you have a red pen in your hand and you're reading something and you're getting to mark it up. And I said, you're right, I am. But at that time in my life, that's probably the early 2000s, I didn't see a path to a way to take that any further.
Okay.
In my experience and what I thought at the time, so the internet is just beginning to take off.
Mhm.
Um, and in my experience, if you wanted to be in the editing world, you had to live in a big city. That was New York,
Right, right,
Chicago,
right. Okay.
Denver, San Francisco, somewhere big, big, big. And we're in South Alabama, and that's where his job was. And so I was like, it's okay. I said, I'll just do this, like a little hobby on the side, and it's fine.
Okay.
And then, so we moved, I'm just doing little office jobs here and there, admin assistant type things. And I enjoyed it, but I didn't love it. And then our son was born. He got through elementary school, and we got to a point where we had to make a decision about how we were going to school him
Mhm.
going forward. So my degree was English education. I was certified 6th through 12th grade for the state of Alabama. And so whenever he got to 7th grade, we decided that we would try homeschooling for a year. And that's what we did. And
Mhm.
it was fantastic. We loved it. And we decided to continue that. And so we homeschooled him from his 7th through 12th grade year. And then we are getting to a point where he's about to graduate, and I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do next because I've been home with him all these
Mhm.
years. And I went to work as a part-time office manager for a cousin of mine. And this is also is the spring of 2020, and COVID is to happen.
Right.
So I worked outside the home for a little bit as that office manager, and our son graduated, but then everybody was able to work remote. And I thought, maybe this is my chance. And so, um, I talked to my cousin, and he was like, "Amber, this is fantastic. Go and do what lights you up." He said, "We'll be okay." Like,
Right.
but I was worried. I didn't want to disappoint anybody. I didn't want to let anybody down. I'm like, I don't want to leave because I'm going to do something I want to do.
Yes.
But he was so encouraging. And Forrest, my husband, he was backing me up 100%. He's like, "It's fine." He said, "Let's try this and see what happens." And so I was able to work remote. I've been able to work on projects that I enjoy, that I love doing. And for the last 6 years, I've been having a blast. This is the most fun I've ever
Right. Right.
had. And not that I don't want it to come across like every day is perfect because that's not reality. But I enjoy what I do. My favorite thing in the whole wide world right now is whenever I work with nonfiction content,
Uh-huh.
I get to dive into whatever subject matter the content is about, and I get to learn all the things about that. So let's just say it I have a client who he's written a couple of books about Native American artifacts and archaeology in the area. So I get to dive in and I'm learning all about
Right.
the, the Native American culture in the Southeast. Okay. So I get to learn about that. I have another client who wrote a book and it takes place during the civil rights era of Montgomery, Alabama. And so I get to dive into 1960s civil rights Montgomery
Right.
and learn all about that and what's going on to make sure that his content not just a good story, but it's factually correct too. And I love that because every day I get to learn something new. And,
Yeah.
and that, in addition to my red pen, that's what lights me up in the
Right.
mornings. And I love it. Um, it's just what gets me going.
So let me highlight a few things
Okay.
here because a lot of us don't find our own stories super incredible. But I'm about to tell you why yours is.
Okay. Because I don't see my story. I see my story as a normal story.
So I was just talking about this morning with some very unhappy people that I know that are close to me,
Hmm.
and a lot of where their unhappiness resides is they are hell bent that I went to school for the thing, so I do the thing. And that
Hmm.
is who I am. And exactly the process that you just described as I have always been able to figure it out. I have
Hmm.
always succeeded in everything that I've done, and they can't allow that quote unquote failure.
Hmm.
And so it takes a lot of courage to make that pivot and to realize that. Uh, so when you were just just describing that process, and even with the homeschooling, it's all of those things are things where it can look uh, somewhat radical to the people around you. And so the key thing that you said is in the next phase is I didn't want to disappoint anyone by going towards what I wanted. That is a female thing, that is a mother thing, that is uh it, I don't think anybody can on the outside who's like, "What is that? What are you doing?" has any understanding of what the internal process is to even to make those leaps. And
Hmm.
you are not. And I say this based on knowing you a little while, and then your geniuses as well. You're not one to just be like, "Oh, I woke up this morning and thought, oh, I think I might try this." Right? So no, that there it takes a lot to consider that you may disappoint those around you
Hmm.
because of what you want. And
Hmm.
so I have realized, and a lot of what I want this podcast to be used for is just giving people the permission to do exactly that, to
Hmm.
say, this is not working. I can do something different. This is not working for me, and it may be working for everybody else. And I'm
Hmm.
going to do something different.
Hmm.
It just it changes your reality and what you end up where you're saying this is where I was meant to be. This is the thing that I was meant to do.
Hmm.
The ripple effects of that to the people that are around you,
Hmm.
it is it's a great legacy to leave, and even outside of your family. And again, it's giving people permission to do that. And the last time that you and I spoke, you were right on the fence of what. Well, I'm making another leap, and when you're telling this story, I'm like, you made several leaps. So if
Mhm.
and your husband had just made a leap right
Yes.
into the consulting fractional world. So explain to me a little bit about what your hesitancy was after, knowing that you've done these other things and it's turned out okay, and then explain exactly what you're doing right now.
Okay, so the hesitancy is I am usually someone who would prefer not to have a lot of change in my life. Um, even though it sounds like that from all of my other story. Um, there is this is what I call it. It's the illusion of security.
Yes.
That's what I call it. I don't know if that's the proper name for it, but that's what I call it. It's the illusion of security because you feel like you're in this spot and your life is going okay and your bills are paid and you're doing your thing. But are you okay in that spot? Is that where you're supposed to be? Only you can answer that question. So my hesitancy is the illusion of security that I felt safe where I was.
Hmm.
So where I was, moving on to your next question, is I've been on with a marketing company as their full-time copy editor and proofreader, which has been a joy because
Right.
I get to work with 3 amazing writers every day. And it is fantastic because I kind of feel like part of my job is to look at the content and make sure that it's okay and all of that. But the second part of my job is to be a cheerleader. And the reason I say that is because whenever you write something, just like your brain, it might leave things out, or your hands might leave
Hmm.
things out that your brain thinks. Your brain also thinks, this is terrible. Nobody would ever read this. I don't know why I wrote it.
Yeah.
Right. But a lot of times you just need someone else to come along behind you and say, this is really good. How did you even come up with this? I don't know. This is genius. Not that you're blowing smoke at somebody, but you really are trying to encourage them in their gift.
Hmm.
Um, and so the only way that I know to explain it is that's what I help with my writers with the marketing company. This is what I do.
Right.
I help them with their content, but I also encourage them. So again, my hesitancy of possibly moving away from that was I don't want to let my writers down.
Okay. So
Okay.
same thing. Yeah.
Again, I don't want to disappoint. I don't want to. It's it's safer to stay here and work with my writers that I love than it is to step out into the uncertainty and try to do my own thing.
Right. Okay. But so you have taken that leap. You are doing your own thing. I know you're still doing a little bit with the
Uh-huh.
marketing company.
Yes.
And so, okay, so I'm gonna speak from things that I think I would like to use you for, and you can elaborate as to
Okay.
what else you're offering. Uh,
Super.
so the last time we spoke, what one I probably need you or in the sense that just to say, hey, you're doing this for me, and therefore I must produce something in order for you to do this for me. That
Okay.
tenacity is a frustration. That's at the lower end for me.
Yeah.
So that in and of itself, but I have a working genius white paper that I'm working on.
Oh,
I
yes.
have decided to start blogging again. And a recent development is my four girls and I have been working on dreams lists.
Okay.
And I knew that I wanted to write a book, and that was on my dreams list, but it showed up on several of the girls' lists too.
Okay.
So now, uh, no time like the present. Let's write a book together. So we are planning on doing that, and I have a great illustrator as well in the family, my oldest daughter.
Okay.
So I know I will want you to look over that and give me a lot. That was brand new territory for me. So book, white paper, and blogging. And I'm assuming you also can create or help with content as well, as far as like the phrasing of captions and things like that.
Mhm.
Uh, so what else are broaden that for me?
Okay. So a lot what I'm focused on as I'm stepping out on my own is nonfiction writing. Okay.
Okay.
And that includes anything from a book, a mini book, a white paper, like you mentioned, which I would love to get my hands on that. um, and blogging, website content, anything along those lines. That is that's my joy.
Okay. And I have to say too, because so your geniuses are discernment and tenacity.
Mhm.
And then I think and I have discernment as well.
Okay.
But I think when you have discernment and you have a certain background, you can take that expertise and even amp up that discernment in kind of your niche as
Okay.
well. So
Mhm.
I believe you know what's going to land well out there as far as a reader, or how someone's going to absorb the nonfiction content as well, or whatever the overall goal of the author is as
Mhm.
far as their audience is concerned. Uh, remind or tell everyone what the name of your business is, because I love it.
Okay. So our last name is Derr, and that's exactly how it's pronounced. And so I am the editor.
Editor, I love it. Yes, I'm
Yes.
on the forward card. I love that so much. Another fun play on words, right?
Yes. Yes.
Right.
So we've had a lot of fun with that name.
Yes, I believe it. And so have you? How long have you been doing that? Because you were doing that before you started doing this more of a full time role. Was this what started out as the hobby?
This was what started out as the hobby. So if you count all the way back to about the beginning, about the early 2000s, so about 25 years, I've been doing this off and on, but most recently full time.
And I want to highlight too that you it was your dream, right, to become a teacher.
Hmm.
And I this is another thing that I like to encourage people to do is to go towards the thing,
Hmm.
and you will just the movement towards it will let you know pretty soon whether your dream was an actual thing that you wanted to do, because a dream it's up here, right? And
Hmm.
when you start putting walking a mile in it, or putting skin on it, or however you want to look at it, then you really know.
Right.
And so that I think a lot sometimes people just think, if I need to know all the facts before I go into it, or I didn't give it enough, and therefore, or it is quitting, or it is a failure. And we just don't know what we don't know until we know.
Yes. Yes. That is so well said. We don't know what we don't know. And I mean, yeah, even So, as I was preparing to be a teacher, obviously you have to go through student teaching,
Oh yeah.
all those things. But there's always someone, I had these ideal situations that I was placed in.
Right.
And I,
You're kind of in a bubble.
you're in a bubble. Very good. And then it was not, I was out of that bubble. And yeah, I don't know, does that make me weak? I'm not sure. Does that make me too emotional? Probably. But that, it just,
I would
as
apply
much
your
as I
discernment.
wanted, and I truly thought, so I am a person of faith. I truly thought that was God's calling on my life. That was the way I had thought, this is how it's supposed to go. This is what I have for you, Amber, and this is the direction you need to go in. Looking back on that now, though, I wouldn't have the background that I need for what I'm doing now
Oh,
as
right, right,
an
right.
editor and a proofreader if I had not had those experiences as a teacher for the 2 years that I was there.
Yes, I completely agree with that. And I want to highlight that even if we think that it's our calling, or we think we heard from God, or we know we heard from God, uh, we can be wrong.
Mhm.
That
Yeah.
and I was kind of wrestling with that actually this morning, and then I realized I was like, why do I feel like I have to get this right? And it's
Mhm.
just an ego thing. Like I, I can go towards the thing and it can be wrong, and I just
Mhm.
have to be all right. It can be wrong. That's okay. It's not. It's not the end of the world, and that's where resilience
Mhm.
comes in too. And you get your some things are just a lesson. Just a
Mhm.
lesson.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, yeah, I love your story, and I'm so glad that we got to meet in person, and I
Oh,
got
me
to hear
too.
all of that. And it to me it's amazing too that you and Forrest have been able to cheer each other on as
Mhm.
you have taken these different risks and leaps, because neither one of you have the geniuses that are typical of a visionary. And yet I'm working with
Yeah.
a lot of visionaries, some flaming visionaries,
Yeah.
and they have no problem just like
Mhm.
uh, I'll fail. It's fine. It's a good idea today. I'm good with that. So
Yeah.
you're not by nature,
Mhm.
and y'all have allowed each other the bandwidth to realize what you're here for. And I think that's amazing as a couple, because sometimes there's a lag. Even if y'all end up
Mhm.
coming together at some point of like, this is the direction we should go, a lot of
Mhm.
times there's a lag and someone's got to, catch up to
Yeah.
it. So
Yeah.
I think it's an amazing situation. And now I think in the next couple of weeks, I'm actually going to have Sarah um, Hodges
Oh,
on here
fantastic.
as well. I know Forrest and your son are coaching. Do you coach with her? Oh, yeah, because
Yes.
y'all are okay. That's right. So I'll have the whole story.
Yes. Yes.
Be able to put all the pieces
Yes.
together.
Yep.
And yes, and so yeah, then that reminds me. I wanted to focus on legacy with her, just based
Uh-huh.
on that. Uh, where can we find you for our editor services?
Okay. So you can find me on my website, theeditderr.com. So it's TheEditderr.com. Or you can look me up personally on LinkedIn. I'm on there and you'll see my headline is the editor, and you can find me that way. Under Amber Derr, and those are the two best ways to get in touch with me.
All right. Thank you so much for joining me today and for your podcasting debut. I'm honored.
It was so much fun.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Julie.
When's the last time you were working and completely lost track of time? Recently, this happened to me at a coffee shop. I was planning to work for a couple of hours, and 6 hours later, I realized I was still there. Not because I had to be, but because I was working in my working genius. What if more people got to work that way? That's the idea behind Enjoy Workforce Solutions. Recruiting built around how people are wired to work, so the right role energizes them, and your team feels the difference. Discover what that could look like for your organization. Visit Enjoy Workforce Solutions.